Hello and welcome back to Formula 1 2019 on the TomFM channel. Hope you're all doing well today. We're back now for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku. It's a bit of a weird track. It's not that popular, I don't think, because it's a street circuit, but it is so much fun to drive. So I really enjoyed recording this one. As you can see, we are sitting fourth in the driver's standings at the moment on 35 points, and we are third in the constructors on 67 points total. So we've had a pretty good start to the season so far for those first three races. Hopefully we can improve. We had some upgrades hopefully coming in for this race, but unfortunately our engine power upgrade has failed. So no engine upgrades, but we do have a rear downforce upgrade coming up, and the electrical systems, a bit more durability in there, they've also been upgraded as well. So not quite as good as we would have hoped, but we are now ahead of Ferrari, as you can see there in the vehicle performance comparison. That's really good. So we're now the second fastest car, and that's mostly due to our downforce. Unfortunately, our engine is really quite far down in the pecking order, so that failed part there, that's going to be quite disastrous for us as we go into today's race. Hopefully though, we're going to pick up some decent points. Third, fourth and sixth so far, we've sort of dropped down a little bit. We want to try and regain a podium today, and I think we can do it. A lot of downforce is required, I've got to say, for the race here today, because there's a lot of twisty turns in the first and second sector, but the third sector is pretty much just a straight line. The engine wear at the moment isn't too bad, and because it's quite a twisty track, I don't think we need to change any engine parts just yet, because it's not a massively dependent engine track. So we're going forward into qualifying now, and hopefully getting a pretty decent result. The weather forecast is looking good. Obviously, it's just complete sunshine throughout the entire weekend, so that's quite good. Hopefully we get a great result. Heading into Q1 then, of course, we need to just get into the top 15 to progress into Q2, so we just need to get a pretty decent banker lap here. And as we come round for our flying lap right at the end of Q1, we do hit a little bit of traffic, but actually it's not all that bad because we are a faster car than some of these cars. So hopefully on these straights in the first sector or so, we can pick up the slipstream off Grosjean there, which is really good. Hopefully that's going to give us a little bit of a boost in this first sector. Hopefully we can get a pretty decent first sector together. I think the first sector is our strongest because it's such a twisty part. I think this is our strongest because we've got such good downforce. It's a good strong start for us for the lap, and we do go purple in sector 1, which is absolutely fantastic. As we come round into the end of sector 2, we are still up actually by 0.15 seconds, which is fantastic. Really flying on this lap. You can see what I mean there about this third sector, apart from these corners which are flat out, so there's a little bit of cornering. Other than that, it's pretty much just a straight line for a long time. We catch up to George Russell, and again we can pick up a bit of slipstream from him. That should help us propel ourselves hopefully into pole position, provisional pole in sector 1, and we do go quickest in sector 1. And that is fantastic. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Traditionally when we do qualifying, our best qualifying session is qualifying 1. Q2 is usually quite good, but we always seem to sort of mess it up a little bit in Q3. We do go fastest in first sector again though in Q2, so that's quite a good sign. Hopefully we can continue with that. But we go a little bit wide into that corner there as we head into the very narrow castle section of this track. This track is so narrow here around the castle at Baku. I think the track's about 7 metres wide, which sounds quite wide, but when you consider that an F1 car is about 2 metres wide, we can just about maybe get 2 cars side by side through there, but it does twist around a bit, so really you can only get 1 car through there, unfortunately. We absolutely clatter the barriers there as we try and late brake in Q2. I don't know why I'm taking so many risks here in Q2, to be fair. We just have to get into the top 10. That's all we need to do. But again, as we head into Sector 3, we are up on Devon Butler's time. He's on provisional pole at the moment in Q2, so that's quite good for us. Hopefully we can just maintain it through this back straight. But because our engine is so, we have a very strong engine. Mercedes engine is the best engine. They're going to be very fast in a straight line, whereas we're not. So I don't think we're going to be beating Butler in Q2. But as we cross the line, we actually do go purple through it. Again, finishing top of Q2. So both the qualifying sessions so far, we have finished in the top. We finished top, basically. We're now in Q3, and Charles Leclerc, as you can see, is pole. And he has actually set a faster lap than we've set in Q1 and Q2. So this is going to be a really tough lap for us. As we finish Q1, Sector 1, sorry, we have got a purple lap, which is really good. So that's quite promising. If we can just keep this up, it will be amazing. As we enter into Sector 3, at the end of Sector 2, we are actually up by 0.35 seconds. So it's really narrow, but because that Ferrari engine is just quicker than us down the straights, we actually end up behind Leclerc by 0.073 seconds. But because we actually finished that lap with 20 seconds to go in the session, we can put together another lap. And you can see in the top corner, that green bar, that's us in a positive delta. So we are quicker than our previous lap at the moment, which is really fantastic. That's what we want to be. We want to be quicker. As long as we can maintain this pace, we are up nearly half a second at the moment at the end of Sector 1, sorry. So we are flying through this lap. It really is late break central at the moment. We are on top of it by half a second now, which is absolutely massive. We are absolutely flying through this lap at the moment. So as it stands right now, I can't see how we're not going to get pole. Again, hit the barrier a little bit there, but we're still half a second up on our time from the previous lap, which means we're nearly almost half a second up on Charles Leclerc's time. The second sector is where I struggle a little bit, but we're now 0.6 seconds up on our time from the previous lap. So we really are absolutely flying through this. Again, a little bit of late braking here, and we just clip the wall ever so slightly there, and I think we lose a little bit of time there, which is frustrating. And we go around this final corner and go a little bit wide, and I think because of that, you can see the delta dropping now. We're still faster than our lap, but at the moment, I don't think we're gonna be getting that pole position as we head into the minus deltas now, or the positive delta, whatever you want to call it. We're down on time, and the dream, at one point we were 0.6 seconds up, but thrown it away in this third sector, and in the end, we end up second on the grid. I mean, it's still a fantastic achievement. It's our highest ever qualifying, but considering that we were so close to pole,
away from starting,
you hate to see it.
Rundown looks like Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Thomas completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Vettel, Sergio Perez, and Verstappen, Butler, Stroll, Ricciardo, and Kevin Magnussen, Sainz, Grosjean, Lando Norris, and Faber, Albon, Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen, and George Russell. Fiat and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid, and with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So heading into the race then, this is our race strategy. We've got 5 laps on the soft tyres and then 8 laps on the old medium tyres, that is. So pretty decent strategy. We should be able to go fair distance in the race. We're taking some fuel out as well. We want to be really light off the line because we are on the inside line, as you can see here, and the first corner is a left turn. It's a very, very short run to the first corner. So if we're nice and light, we might be able to get ahead of Leclerc as the 5 lights go out. And away we go. A bit of a pause there for the lights, but away we go. Leclerc gets a very good start. We don't get quite as good a start as him, so we have to go behind him into that first corner. It's such a short run. We have to go and give room to Hamilton as well, who's right behind us looking for it. And we have to get ahead of Charles Leclerc very quickly because this Ferrari is going to be very fast in a straight line, especially down those straights later on. So we have to get the business done very early on against Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, we maybe look down the inside there, but not quite close enough to get the move done there. We just have to keep within touching distance of him. We have to be patient and we will get our chance to overtake him as long as we just stay right behind him. We've got better downforce on the Ferrari, so we can be quicker through the corners, I've got to say. And we try and maybe go down the inside there, but we don't, not quite close enough. I have to cut the corner to avoid a collision, and that slowed us right down. Leclerc has got ahead, and Hamilton is right on our gearbox now instead, and that is not what we wanted. That was a poor decision from me as we go through this very narrow castle part right now, which you can't overtake there. That is just too risky to overtake without crashing and taking you and the other car out of the race. As you can see, on the straighter, faster sections of the second sector and into the third sector, you can see Leclerc is starting to pull away from us a little bit right now, which we hate to see, but unfortunately that's just the way this track works, I've got to say. But we will try and catch him up in that first sector because we are incredibly fast in that first sector. We just were consistently the fastest in qualifying through that first sector. But as you can see, the Ferrari is going to start to pull away now down this back straight, and we have got to make sure we defend from Lewis Hamilton behind us in the Mercedes. And the Mercedes, much more powerful engine. And as you can see, those white lines telling me where he is behind us, rapidly increasing, and he's just breezing past us now. But he's not quite fully ahead of us. We get a bit of slipstream, and we try and hang it around the outside of turn 1 here. We are with a little bit of contact with wheel-to-wheel contact there, but nothing too detrimental there. Hamilton just ahead of us, but we go around the outside of turn 2 and we get the manoeuvre done on Hamilton. We get him back there, and so many times this season We've gone around the outside, and going around the outside seems to work really, really well for us in this career mode at the moment. And we've done another fantastic move there. We've caught up to Charles Leclerc a little bit as well, so that's quite good. If we can just try and maintain this kind of gap to him, try and increase it slowly with a little bit of late braking around some of these corners, I think we can do that. We've got really good cornering speed. We can have so much confidence because we've got so much downforce. I love going around the corners. We can carry a lot of speed through them. But Hamilton trying to have a sniff down the inside here. It forces us to go a little bit wide there, which we don't want to do. So we do actually lose a little bit of time to Leclerc there. But I've got to say, an exciting start to this race so far on lap 2. As we head to the end of lap 2 there, you can see those cars right behind us. Hamilton behind us, not really moving, has actually hit us a little bit there. It opens the door to Butler and to Vettel, and we go around the first corner 3 wide, and we actually have a little bit of contact there. Contact from Vettel. We end up going wide because of it. And Butler and Vettel both get ahead of us. We try and stick it around the outside of Butler, who sort of pushes into the wall a little bit. So a lot of contact around those first 2 corners of lap 3. Really dramatic stuff. We get the DRS done on Butler though, and Vettel, who hit us, sending us wide. Very, very similar actually to how we got hit by Max Weber in the previous race in China. We got hit by him and we ended up going really far back down the pecking order there, and something very similar happening with a lot of contact with Vettel there actually around that corner on my part, trying to get him back. We try and go down the inside there, trying to go wide and get a little bit of crisscross on him, but unfortunately it really doesn't work out for us very well. We lose a chunk of our front wing as well, which is not good, and it opens the door to Devon Butler to get past us. And at this point we have to stay calm. You need to stay calm as a driver at this point, but as a driver I've been overtaken there with lots of contact. I'm anything but calm. At this point I'm trying to get past them. I'm really trying to go for it. I'm going to try and late brake Butler into this corner coming up now. However, I get it disastrously wrong. I hit the back of Butler, go into the wall. Somehow I'm not out of the race. I don't understand how I'm not out of the race, but we'll watch a replay of it here. We'll watch a replay. As you can see, again, it's just me trying to brake late, switch to the inside. I just get it all wrong. I brake way too late. Don't turn enough. Butler brakes in front of me. I'm into the back of him. He's probably got a puncture as well because he's in the pits ahead of us. I think we've given him a puncture. Our front wing is completely gone, and that is completely my fault there. I'm completely at fault for that. That was really poor from me, and we've had to have a lengthy pit stop now to have a front wing change. Now, we are pitting a little bit earlier, and we're going to have a lot of clean air, I suppose, so we can maybe hope that we get the undercut on a few cars ahead of us, but we've ruined our race, basically. There's no chance of us winning it now. We've ruined Butler's race as well, so it's going to be a tough one. And as we come round lap 6 now, around into sector 3, you can see just on the left of the track, Grosjean was off there. He's out of the race now. He had some sort of engine problem, but you can also see that Max Verstappen is now in the pits. Now, we were ahead of him, obviously, but of course, we've crashed. He got ahead of us, and we had a lengthy pit stop. So this is going to see how we've done, basically. Has the undercut worked? Probably not, I've got to say, as we head to the pits, and you can see that dark blue dot now of Max Verstappen coming out of the pit lane, and we are going to be behind Max Verstappen. So we've really lost a lot of time, I've got to say. We were running, P2, P3, and now we've dropped down all the way behind Verstappen, who I think was running P6, P7. So that shows how much time we've lost. Hopefully we will be scoring some points today. We can get back in there as we make a few overtakes as cars start to pit for their scheduled stops now on lap 8. So quite late, a lot of these cars pitting. Albon is now out of the race. He's actually just ahead of us out of the race. His car smoking there. So we are now up into P10. So we are in the points now, and hopefully we can make this last as we do one final overtake in the pits as we head on to lap 9 to overtaking Lando Norris, I think it was, in the McLaren. And we're now chasing down 3 cars ahead of us. Butler is ahead of us, Lance Stroll is ahead of us, and we've got Max Verstappen. They're all fighting as a bit of a trio, so hopefully they're going to hold each other up and we can start to make some overtakes on those guys and get ourselves back into a slightly more acceptable position from where we started the race. We are on the points, but I want to be in that top 5, ideally a podium, but that's probably way too much to ask at this stage after the race we've had and things like that. So it's not brilliant, I've got to say. It's been quite bad on my part, but of course none of this would have happened, I don't think, if we didn't have that contact from Sebastian Vettel going around corner or turn 1 of lap 3. So a lot of fingers to point there. A lot of racing incidents probably. I'm not quite sure why I've not been given a penalty, because I've ruined my race and I've ruined Butler's race. Really, I should have had a penalty. I need to probably look at the settings maybe. I don't know if we've got like realistic penalties turned on or something like that. I'm not too sure really. But as we are now on lap 10, we can see that the cars ahead of us are bunching up. We're getting a bit closer, but Max Weber out of nowhere has come up from behind us. Really slow round that second corner for the cars ahead of us now. And we are right on the tail of these 3 cars, and we've got Weber just behind us, so there's 5 of us now all together bunching up, looking to try and fight for P5 basically. And there's a lot of point difference between P5 and P9, so it's going to be a real tight one, as we are right behind Butler again now. A few changes there as they get ahead of each other and things like that. They keep tangling up. Butler is now the car in front of us, and we nearly crash into him again. I'm very nervous around Butler now. I don't want to crash into him. I don't want to ruin my race again. But at the same time, he is one of our rivals. Of course, we've got Verstappen and Butler as our rivals. We need to beat them both to get points against them. And as we come down the back straight now, we are gaining on Butler through the slipstream. We've now got DRS as well. A little bit of contact with him because I'm all over the place basically in this race. A little bit of contact, not too bad though. And we make the move done down the inside of Butler, up into P7 now, chasing down our teammate Max Verstappen and Stroll. Or is it Stroll? It could be Perez actually. I'm not quite sure which one it is of the Racing Points. I'm about to say Force India, but it's Racing Point this season. It's either Stroll or Perez. I think it actually is Perez who's ahead of us. And you can see here that Butler getting the DRS back on us, but we try and hang it around the outside. He hits the wall and bounces into us, and we nearly lose control because of it. But we do get the manoeuvre done as we go down the inside of this one, leaving some space for Butler to make sure there's no more crashing. And we're back ahead of Butler once again. These final few laps, very exciting. The first 3 laps and the final 3 laps, all really exciting laps in the middle of the race. When we crash, not so much, because it's all about gaining positions through pit stops basically, I've got to say. So nothing too entertaining there as we hit the wall very lightly there. I'm just not being too careful actually. I mean, through qualifying I was perfect. Apart from that one smash into the wall a little bit on Q2, I was perfect, didn't damage anything. But throughout this whole race we have been getting little bits of damage as Butler once again gets ahead of us through DRS on the back straight as we head into the lap 12, the penultimate lap. We leave it late to brake as we go around the outside once again, and going around the outside nearly works as more contact between us and Butler. So much contact in this race, but we do go around the outside of turn 2. That's worked for us 3 or 4 times I think in this race so far. We go around the outside and again back into P7. Us fighting with Butler and Weber sort of trailing alongside with us has meant that Verstappen and the Racing Point have got ahead of us, so we are struggling to keep up with them now as we head through the castle section now of the track in Sector 2. Such a narrow track, but it's so cool to get through them. We go very, very wide, and Weber has actually got ahead now of Butler, and he is nearly overtaking us there. He crashes into us a little bit as we go around this corner, and we look behind us, and Weber's off the track. He's completely crashed. So what has happened there? The best angle here is from Devon Butler, and as we go around those corners, I leave him space, but I think he just clips us, and you can see there actually a bit of front wing coming off. So I think he clips the corner, clips the curb, who goes into us, and he loses control because of that. I don't think that's anything to do with us there. I think that is all basically the fault of Max Weber there. So unfortunate for him to lose out like that after doing so well. I think he started about P14, so to be up fighting with us is really impressive with him. So he's held out of it now, and it's a bit of karma I suppose, because he crashed into us in the race in China last time out, which caused us to drop down and finish lower down than we should have done. So a little bit of karma there for him as he comes past us or tries to come past us, but ends up crashing out. The bad part of it is though that now the buffer zone that we have between us and Butler is gone, and Butler is right behind us on lap 13 of 13 now, and that's not very good. We need to stay ahead of him for not just the points obviously in the World Championship, but for our rivalry as well, because he's our rival. If we lose to him, then we lose a rivalry point and he gains a rivalry point, so we have to stay ahead of him. Verstappen's ahead of us, but he's about 1.8 seconds or so up the road from us, so we're not going to be overtaking him unfortunately. We are going to lose some points to him in the rivalry, but we are ahead of him relatively so. So I think we will stay ahead of Verstappen in our rivalry, but we need to stay ahead of Butler to stay ahead of him in our rivalry. This is what matters right now on this final lap We've managed to get ahead of him a little bit, I've got to say, through the first sector. And as we go into the second sector, I think we may maintain this gap. But the third sector, he's going to have DRS on us. He's also got the more powerful engine, so it's going to be so hard to defend against him in a straight line. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it or not. Verstappen is too far ahead of us to catch up and sort of try and get a little bit of a buffer zone between us and Butler. So I don't think we're going to finish any higher than 7th. But hopefully we do finish in 7th as we slide around that corner, really damaging the front wing there, because I'm just trying to late brake and try and get ahead of Butler. But unfortunately, it's allowed him to catch up with him. He's already trying to get side by side with us as we go through these fast few corners here. I'm trying to keep the car together, but I already smashed into the other wall. We've basically got no front wing now to provide us downforce, and it's just all too simple for Butler to try and overtake us. I'm trying to be a bit ruthless here and try and bash into him a little bit, but it hasn't worked. Butler gets ahead of us with, 10 seconds to go in the race, and we end up in P8, which really is unacceptable. We can't be down here. It's our own fault, though, because we crashed.
On the driver's standings, Charles Leclerc assumes the lead in the standings after today's outstanding result. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
For me, it's Kimi Raikkonen, someone who definitely doesn't get enough attention for how well he performs out on the track.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Ferrari take the lead at the top of the table. Meanwhile, good work from Racing Point this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So, as you can see, we are dropping down to 6th in the Drivers' Championship after that. 1 point behind our teammate Verstappen, and Vettel also gets ahead of us after he came 2nd behind Charles Leclerc. So, dropping down to 6th with 34 points behind Charles Leclerc now in the Drivers' Championship. After 4 races, it's not too bad. We've got a long time to make it up, but I would rather be right up there in the top 3 to be keeping up with them, sort of thing. So I'm a little bit disappointed by that, but today was probably our own fault, but you could sort of say Vettel was part of that as well. It's frustrating, but it's just something that happens in racing, I've got to say. And you can see here the breakdown now in the rivalry between us and Verstappen and us and Devon Butler. Not too good for us. We are still leading the rivalry against our teammate Verstappen, but we are now losing the rivalry against Devon Butler 5-4 there. You can see through different points and things like that. So that's kind of frustrating. But hopefully in the next race, we will beat them both and maybe even finally grab a pole and finally grab a race win. That's what we want to do most of all. As you can see, we need to try and get some upgrades going. So we're going to try and redo the upgrade that failed, the engine upgrade. So we're going to try and do that again for the next race. We're also going to try and get a little bit of chassis upgrade, because we've not done much on the chassis at all. In fact, we've not done anything on the chassis at all. We have got the best chassis apparently, but we need to upgrade it a little bit to keep it the best. Aerodynamics, we need to improve that a little bit. And I was trying to work out, is it better to go for front wing or rear wing? But it doesn't really seem to make much of a difference actually, either one. They both seem to upgrade pretty much the same rate. So we're going to go for a... which one do we go for? We go for the diffuser, I believe. Or do we go front wing? No, we go for front wing instead. So a bit more front wing for the next race. I say that, no, we go for the diffuser. I couldn't remember which one we go for. I kept switching between the few. So diffuser, hopefully coming in for the next race. 3 upgrades, hopefully coming in for Spain. If we get all those upgrades done, that will put us very, very close to the speed of the Mercedes, which is really, really exciting. So thank you very much for watching today's episode. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time in Spain.